Hello and welcome to my channel. Um, I will let me introduce myself first. I am Lex, as the name of my channel implies, and this channel is basically a documentary of my gender transition process thing. Yeah, let's go with that. Um, I'm a little nervous, so forgive me. I decided finally that it was time for me to talk about what it's like for me to go through transitioning from female to male. And I decided that even if no one else sees these videos, which, I mean, I'm hoping somebody does because I'm putting it on YouTube, but I decided that even if nobody else sees these videos, it is important to my process to do this because it's important for me to talk about the specifics of what it's like for me. I don't know too many transgender individuals in person. I know a few online. But even then, I think that my experience of this is sort of outside of, um, well, okay, I don't mean to imply that there is a normal transgender experience, because I don't think there is one. But if there was one, mine would be slightly outside of it, because I bring a couple of different factors to the table. Um, well, the first obvious one is the fact that I'm African American. Second obvious one is maybe not so obvious. I don't know. I have cerebral palsy, so there's the intersection of gender identity and disability that's there, and I'll probably be doing a video on that at some point. Actually, I'll definitely be doing a video on that at some point. But today I kind of just want to talk about what it was like for me to come to terms with the fact that I'm trans. I wish I could say that I knew for a fact that I was trans since I was like 3. That is not true. I'm sure that that's many people's experiences. It just wasn't mine. And in fact, when I realized that I was trans, I had this preconceived notion that I couldn't possibly be trans because I didn't know when I was 2. And that's a misconception that is can be quite damaging, I think, to people who are trans, is that there's one way to be trans and there's no one way to be trans. My upbringing, my life is complicated for a number of reasons that I don't even have time to get into. Um, but the short version is that I I have a history of of sexual abuse, and so that caused a lot of problems for me emotionally. And so one of my first things that I thought about when I realized that I was trans was like, oh my god, what if I'm not actually trans? What if this is just some other manifestation of the thing that I went through, and like this is the ultimate me trying to escape what happened to me by changing my gender. And then I should also mention that I'm a psychology student, so that didn't help. But then I thought about it for a while, and I was like, okay, so even if that's the case, and I really want to touch on this right now because I feel like it's important for other people to hear this too. Even if you were abused as a child and you had horrible things happen to you and then you realize you're a transgender, even if there's some sort of tie-in, even if there's some relation to you being having been abused and then discovering that you're transgender, even if somehow there was a way to figure that out, it does not invalidate who you are. It does not invalidate who you are. Let me say that again. It does not invalidate who you are. What happens to us as people, we have a lot of things happen to us and those things that happen to us shouldn't be used against us to um, to sort of explain away our experiences. And I think that's what happens a lot of times with people who have horrible things happen to them. Those horrible things are used to explain away later experiences. And so I just, right out of the gate, want to say that, and I will say it as many times as it needs to be said. And I really just, to be honest, needed to say that for myself. So, um, now that that's out of the way, so I can't really say when exactly the aha moment hit me, except that I recall that back last December, so almost a year ago, I was quite depressed and I was going through some difficulty in school, and I was like, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard at everything. I'm trying to be a good student. I'm trying to be a good friend. I'm trying to be, trying to be a woman, and that's not working out. I don't understand. And then I just sort of paused and was like, wait a minute. Um, who who tries to be a woman? Like, is that a thing? Like, women don't try to be women, right? They are women. It's just who they are. And at first, I didn't want to explore that at all. I was like, nope, nope, leave it alone. You don't need to go there. Um, and then I was like, well, let me think about that. And I should also preface that by saying that this semester, the semester that this all happened, I was in school and I was taking a philosophy course. So I think that sort of tied into this because we were talking about sort of who you are as a person, self-identity, and we went over Descartes, what it means to exist, and we talked about, we covered Hannah Arendt and the human condition. So all of these things were sort of the backdrop for this internal dialogue that I was having with myself. And Socrates' quote about the unexamined life is not worth living, that's sort of what brought me down the rabbit hole to sort of like let's explore this idea of like what am I saying when I say I'm trying so hard to be a woman and it's not working? And I was kind of like a couple of days go by and I'm just like, what if it's not working because I'm not a woman? And then I was like, that that's a thing, right? And then it's not that I didn't know the word transgender. I just didn't think it applied to me, because like I said, I had all these preconceived notions about what it meant, and I didn't think I fit any of them, you know. And but the more I thought about it, I started thinking thoughts like, what would it mean? What would it feel like to you? Talking to myself, what would it feel like to you to live as a guy? And oh my God, the instant euphoria at the thought of living that way um, just really sort of hit me, and I was like, what do I need to do to make this happen? And but then I was also terrified because in that moment I felt like my entire life had been a lie. I felt like I had been in you'll have to excuse me if I get a little emotional because it's just still really raw to me. I felt like because I had been trying so hard to be a woman that I was pretending, and therefore that I was lying to everyone around me. So I felt like a giant liar. And then I just sat there and I cried. I was like, what the heck? I've lied to everyone, and now I have to tell everyone the truth, and now everyone's going to hate me. They're going to think I'm a giant fraud. They're going to think I'm crazy. All these things. And I should say that the first person I told was my best friend, and her reaction was kind of funny. Still don't know how to take it. She was just like, yeah, I know. I know. And okay, I've heard many people say that one of the worst things you could say to a transgender person is, "Yeah, I knew already." And that might be true for many individuals who identify as trans, but who are trans, but that wasn't my experience. When she said, "Yeah, I know," when she said that, it was like the biggest relief ever to me. I was like, "Oh my God, you knew?" Like, wait, somebody saw this before I did? Oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, you mean I'm not losing my mind? And there's still a part of me that wonders whether or not she actually knew, or whether she um, she just confirmed what I wanted to hear. Um, I certainly hope that it was the that she genuinely meant that. Either way, though, she was really supportive and still has been very supportive of me and my transition. And so, she was supportive, and so I figured, well, if she's supportive, then I suppose I could tell other people. And then I told my mentor, and he was like, okay. I was, and that might sound like the most underwhelming response ever, but I mean, knowing, it meant the world to me because it was acceptance. It wasn't like, oh my God, how dare you. Now I did get some of that from people. I did get the whole, like, what is, people with who had an issue with it, like, why would you do that? And those people, they are no longer in my life, and let's leave it at that. But and so it felt like this huge weight was lifted once I was able to tell those two people, and then started to live my life on this new journey. Like, okay, here I go. I'm walking down this path now. And so I told my therapist, and who I was seeing at the time, I'm no longer seeing him, but I told him, and he was on board with it enough to uh, sign the paperwork for me to start testosterone. So again, either he genuinely believed me, I hoped he did, because he sort of put himself on the line if he didn't. Um, and I started testosterone, and that was amazing. But even even before I started testosterone, the psychological shift that took place as I would look at myself in the mirror and say things like, "That is one handsome dude," and as I would sit there and just say my name to myself, because at that point I decided that I wasn't gonna call myself by my birth name anymore, that I'm not gonna mention here, but that I would, I'm Alexander Lex for short, Lex, and I would say my name, and it would just this peace just came over me, unlike anything I had ever known before, and it was and still is one of the best things about this journey for me is whenever I'm in doubt, whenever I'm unsure, I just have to think about what that feeling, like what it means to me to be doing this, and how at peace I feel with who I am finally. And that's really all that matters. And so, got about a minute left here, and so the last thing I want to say is that I hope that this video brings someone somewhere some source of comfort, and please know that you're not alone. Please know that you aren't the only one who's felt the way you felt, and please feel free to ask me questions. Please feel free to comment, and I hope that you will join me again next time as I continue my journey. And I guess that's all. Peace.